My name is Gabe Guerrero, coach of the BroncBotz. Want to introduce Coede Butler, one of our senior members. Cody has been with the team since ninth grade. Right, Cody? Am I right?
Yeah, I joined my
Cody's a
freshman
freshman.
year.
Awesome. He actually has served as our scouting captain the last 3 years in FRC, and
Way too
also
long.
way too long. But the reason is because he's so good at it, right?
Yeah.
The scouting is such an important part of any team that having somebody that knows what they're doing, leading that team, can be a great benefit when it comes to the elimination rounds and going to compete at the championship events. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Cody because I know we're short on time, and let him take off.
All right. So hello, everybody. My name is Coede Butler, and I am the scouting captain for our FRC team 3041, and as well, I've also been scouting captain for FTC as well. And so what we're here today is we're going to figure out together how to scout for virtual events. Because I'm going to be honest with you guys, before I start this, I have no idea how to do it. I know how to do traditional events, but this is a new thing for all of us, so we're going to figure it out together. So on the agenda, we're going to talk about what is scouting and kind of the different aspects of scouting. So pre-scouting, making a scouting sheet and a schedule, pit scouting, kind of what remote competitions will look like according to what I read from the game manual. And if we do go back to traditional scouting, what that would be like. So what is scouting? Scouting is basically you look at the robots during the competitions and you see what they can do. And it's kind of similar to if anybody has gotten a scholarship for doing good in sports, there will be representatives from colleges going to different say football games looking for recruits to give them a scholarship. That's kind of what it is. So they want to use scouting to, what am I trying to say? It can be used to win a competition. So in order to win a competition, you need in this case, you need a team of 2. I think sometimes you can pick a third as a backup, but at least 2 robots per team in order to win the competition. And you want to pick it, so you want to look at the other robots to see what you can use. You can have the best robot, like some teams, and you still could lose. So you still want to pick a robot that's good for you and good for them in order to win the competition. Oh no, my slideshow's not working.
It's back up. You're good.
But different parts of the slideshow I keep putting on are not showing up.
Okay.
All right, let's that up there. Okay, so the one aspect of scouting that I think will not change this year is pre-scouting. And what pre-scouting is kind of scouting before a competition. So generally before a competition, a lot of teams will post, oh no, don't go back. A lot of teams will post videos on YouTube of robot reveals, kind of how the robot works and what works for them. And then as a team and a scout, I like to look at a bunch of these videos and see what works best for them and also what we're competing against. And a bunch other pictures that I had on there that weren't showing were, it's not just YouTube that you can look at. You can also look at Reddit, which is not just for memes. There are dedicated subreddits such as the FTC subreddit, and also there's an FRC subreddit as well, where some teams will use, it's a forum, you can use it for forums, you can use them for questions, and then a bunch of teams like to post different designs of their robot. So one picture that I had on there was a drivetrain made out of Go Builda. It was a Mecanum drivetrain. So a bunch of some teams might look at that and say, hey, for this game, I might need a Mecanum drivetrain because movement is important. And then another picture I had on here, which is also not showing up, is you can also use Instagram. You can use any form of social media. So I had on there a video of the MacBots practicing with their 2019 robot, which was DSpace was 2019, right? Yes, it was. So their FTC robot, they were practicing their cycles and they had really fast cycles. So that's what some teams will look at and say, hey, I'm going against this. How can I do better going against this? So it's just kind of to look at what other teams, what's working well for other teams. Also to see what you're going up against. Oh, come on.
Fight through it, Cody. You'll be all right, man. You're doing
Scouting
well.
sheet. And then, okay. So one important part, good thing I printed this out. One important part of scouting is the scouting sheet, which you might have to make, or you will have to make. So when making a scouting sheet, what you want to do is you want to read the game manual first and be able to understand what you want to be looking at for a team. So my example I had was last year, which was the stone game. I forgot what it was. Well, I forgot the name of it. But different aspects of autonomous, where can they reposition? Were they able to deliver a block under the bridge? Were they able to park, and were they able to place any stones? During the teleop period, I had a section for how many stones they placed, how many stones they delivered, how many stones they placed. I'm doing this backwards, but you guys know what I'm trying to say. How many stones they stacked, how many stones they placed, and how many stones they delivered. And then for endgame, I also had, there was a cap that you could put on top of a tower or on the little platform itself. Were they able to do that? Were they able to move the foundation back? And were they able to park? And then this will be most effective during the qualification matches, where this is what the data, this is what you'll be used to calculate the data and see which robot is best at what and kind of what you need to be a good team. So the different things you would want to look at are for autonomous, what they can do in autonomous, what they can do in teleop, what they can do in endgame, and a different breakdown of their driving, how fast certain parts of their robots, how fast certain parts of the robot are, like their intake and their drivetrain. And then you want to make sure everything is easy and clean to read. I tried to make it as big as possible while using as little space in order to make everything kind of neat and be able to read easy, so I can understand what teams can do what. And then most importantly, you want to add a notes section. Notes is very important because it can give you its opinion about the scouter and what they think of the robot. So they may say, hey, this is a good robot, we might like it. Or hey, this robot seems a little funny. And it also can keep track of some parts that I don't have in this section, such as if a robot disconnects or if a certain part of the robot breaks. So that's also very important to look at whenever you eventually decide what team you want to do.
So Cody, a quick question related to what you just said. Why is it important to know if a robot breaks or not?
It's important to know if a robot breaks or not, because you want to know, because normally it's a pattern, because they could, if it happens once, it could happen again. So you want to know, you want to think, do you want to be on a team with a robot that breaks a lot, or do you want to be on a team with a robot that doesn't? And then my mistake last year was we picked a team that looked really good during qualification matches, but at the actual elimination matches, they were not what we thought they were. So that was a mistake that we should have looked at more carefully. And then another good example, or not an example, of a good thing that you as a scouting leader should do, or just in general, is to make a schedule for when people are scouting. And this is very important to keep up morale and to get the best data possible. So the first thing you should do is you should take note on who's going to attend, so you know a rough estimate of how many people you're going to have for scout. Don't use your necessary people. So don't take account for the drivers, don't take account for people in the pit, and just anybody left over that's not doing anything, you should use them for scouting. And it would use a minimum, depends on how many people you have, a minimum of 2 shifts, so that people are switching out so that they're not getting tired. And if they're getting tired, they're not going to do the best data. They're just going to want to get through it, and they're not going to put forward the effort. And to make the shifts better, you want to put people that you want to make friends. You want to put people that are friends into the same shift, so that it makes the shift more enjoyable, and it's not just dedicated to scouting, but so they can also be so that they can also enjoy it. And don't make the shift too long. I originally had this for FRC, but you can use this for both FTC and FRC. Do a few matches each shift, and do a few matches each shift. Don't put too many matches onto one shift, or else people are going to be really tired and your data is not going to be good. And one important thing to do is have at least a head scout per shift. So last year we had 2 scouts. We had at least 1 scout per shift in order to make sure that everybody was doing what they were supposed to. So it's important to have at least 1 person in charge so that you get the most data, you get the best data, and so that everybody's paying attention. Okay. This is, all right, pit scouting is something you can do, but I do not recommend it. From my experience of pit scouting, I've come across this part right here. Not everybody's honest with their pit scouting, or when people are asked questions in the pit. And the reason is because they're trying to look good in front of other teams. I've done it. Some of you guys may have done it, and I know other teams that have done it. I know one team in it was my sophomore year, when it was deep space. One aspect of deep space was being able to climb onto the 2nd and 3rd half. And there's one team that said they could climb, and I looked at the robot. I was thinking, I don't think they can climb, but I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna take their word for it and see if they can do it. So when they got to the match, they were not able to climb. So I did not like that team anymore, because I was read false information, and anything else they could have told me could have been false as well. So I completely ignore pit scouting, but it's up to you. But in my opinion, I would ignore pit scouting and just see what they do in the match itself.
So Cody, there is a behavior that you guys do prior to the event, and y'all do go around to all the different pits and do a couple things, right? What do y'all do?
So we also do gracious professionalism in the.
No, actually, don't you send somebody to go out to take pictures?
Oh yes, we do. Sorry.
Sorry, you're good.
Oh,
You're
no,
good.
I forgot. I completely forgot about that. But the one thing with pit scouting that I do, thank you for reminding me, Mr. Gabe, is we take pictures of each robot. So we don't ask questions, but when analyzing the data and deciding on a pick list, we take pictures of each robot to see where we're like, hey, I don't quite remember what this robot looks like. And then we pull up a picture of this robot and say, oh yeah, I like this part of the robot. Or I remember this robot, they were able to score a lot more, and they were doing really good at this aspect of the game. So that is the one part of pit scouting that I do, but all of this questions, I don't do it, because teams can lie to look good in front of other teams. All right, so I don't know if anybody else read the game manual earlier, but I read, while making this slideshow, I was reading what remote competitions would look like, and this is kind of what I found. So for remote competitions, it's going to be your own field during a competition days, and Mr. Gabe can kind of explain this a little bit. There's going to be a live scoring. There's going to be a software similar to.
Yeah, I can talk to it real quick if you want me to.
Yeah, please do.
So kind of to explain how this is going to happen, it's actually one of two strategies that your league may take. Number one is full virtual, and the full virtual one, the way it's going to be is you will be conducting 6 matches on your own, and you'll be recording the scores. You'll be recording the scores one of two ways. You can, if you have the ability to have internet access, you can have the scoring platform up and record the scores directly onto the platform, or you may choose to record the match on paper and then upload the data to the scoring platform after you're done, right, when you have access to the internet, right? So a full virtual event is going to be you at your shop, at a garage, somewhere, just your team recording your scores and your event. If you are part of our league, one of the strategies that we're taking is that you will also have a Zoom up, and you will be broadcasting your part of the event, and taping it, and really that's just kind of having a cross check. We'll have our referees attend as a non-biased observer, to help
So
out.
can you upload those Zooms for other teams to see?
Say it again.
Do they upload those Zooms for?
Good question. We plan to. We haven't decided yet as a league exactly what those steps are going to be. The other way of doing it will be if you're able to obtain a location. Teams will rotate in and out of that location one at a time, or two at a time, depending on how many fields you have set up or how many half fields you have set up, and be able to come in and do their matches. That's going to happen in situations where the teams aren't able to have order and pay for their own field and their elements. We'll have the opportunity for them to do so at a centralized location somehow. So those are the two ways they can do it. Recording, we're recommending it, but we haven't come to a final decision yet. But definitely the scoring will be recorded on the cloud, and we'll make that available.
Okay.
All right, I'll leave it at that.
So next we have during the actual competition, what scouting is like during a match. So all I'm saying, I'm gonna reiterate, but what I'm saying today can be used for both FTC and FRC. So this is not only for one level of robotics, this can be for FTC or FRC. I just said the same thing twice. I'm bad at this. Okay, anyway, what you would want to scout during the actual qualification during the day is qualification matches. So in FTC, I know scout all the qualification rounds to get the most data possible. And you want to have at least one scout per robot per field. So for FTC, you want to have at least 4 people per field. In FRC, since there's 6 robots, you want to have at least 6 scouts per field. And then at least 1 head scout to supervise all. And then you want to, as I said before, scout as many matches as you can, and keep in mind the data. Once you start to get more data, you kind of get an idea of what each robot is like in order to make your eventual pick list. So do you just get as much data as you can, make sure that it's all accurate and legible so that you can eventually make your pick list. And then what the pick list is like is once you have all of your scouting sheets, you can have FRC or FTC. What we do is normally during a pick list, we would either have a night and then the next competition, or we'll have maybe a few hours, but we'll have an interval between the last match and the alliance selection where we make a pick list. So what we do is we sit down as a team, we pull out the pictures of the robots that we took, we pull out the scouting sheets that we have, and we just go forth and base off of the pre-scouting and the match scouting what we as a team need in order to make a good alliance. So say with in 2018 to 19, we were looking for robots that could pick up the hatches. So if you remember Deep Space, they had these hatches, and they had those kind of those giant inflatable kickballs, which was the cargo, and that's what we would score. We were good at scoring cargo, but we were not good at scoring hatches. So we tried to look for teams that could score hatches so that we could do cargo. And then there was one team at a off-season event that picked us because they had a good cargo bot, they had a good hatch bot, and they also used us for defense. So one also important aspect is to look for defense. This is primarily for FRC, but you want to look for, I'm just saying stuff again. I'm not good at this. And then one important thing to do when focusing on which robots you want to pick is don't base it off of rankings. When I do scouting, I do not pay attention to the rankings at all. I only pay attention to what the data says. And that, rankings, tournament. You could have a robot that's really bad, that's really low on the ranks, such as one case. Mr. Gabe, you might know this before. This was before me, but there was a robot that we picked that was very low in the ranks, and we got the worlds because of them, right?
Yeah. So actually, a lot of times when you're looking at the data, right? The data and the rankings sometimes tell you how good the robot is, but they also can tell you that they've had a day where they've had some bad luck. Either things have not gone their way, or maybe they've been in bad alliances. But maybe they didn't. I mean, one of the main ranking components is not really how much you score. It's actually wins and losses, right? So we had a team that was literally in last place that we selected as our partner. And again, going back to what Cody said, they did the one thing that we wanted them to do, and they did it well. And they, by them doing that, it gave us the opportunity to do what we did well. And as a team, we succeeded together. Even though they were the last place team on the in the event, they were the right pick for us, right? So as Cody was saying, the data will tell you um, that what who to look for and what to look for and what they can do. It'll tell you where they do it well and where they struggle. But ultimately, if you use ranking alone, like Cody was saying, then you have a potential of picking somebody that's either not going to fit with you, or maybe that is not the best choice you could have chosen, right? So don't ignore those teams that are lower ranked. It should be purely on the ability and what they can do, and honestly, sometimes it's how well they work as a partnership. You can have a team that's actually good, not great, but they are good to work with as a team, and you can work together successfully. Hopefully that helps, Cody.
It does.
There are many layers to that.
And then finally, with the alliance selection is kind of the main. This is where everything comes into play. This is where your pre-scouting comes in. This is where your match scouting comes in. This is where your pick list comes in. This is where you finally make your team in order to hopefully win the competition. So you want.
So Cody, from an FTC perspective, when you're in a championship, sometimes there's three teams, right? That's a little bit different. How do you choose best in an FTC situation when you have the line selections of three?
In an FTC situation, you have, not good with FTC, but you have you have your partner, you have a backup. So you want to know if either you or your partner doesn't work, then you can go with your backup, and hopefully they can pick up what you're.
Yeah, and one thing to remember in FTC, each robot has to play at least once, right?
Is what?
Each robot has to play at least once. If you go three matches, the same two that play match one cannot be the same two that play match two. That third robot has to come in at least for match two. So it's not how It's not how three of y'all work together. It's how two of y'all can work it together at a time. So just a quick caveat there for FTC.
And then when doing this, you want to keep in mind what you need. So like I said with the pick list, what you need and what your alliance partner can need as well in order to be a good team. So use your strategies, use your pick list, use your use what you've seen on the field, use your scouting data to decide which team you should pick in order to be the best alliance. And then if you do not get into the top position, or I should say this anyway, depending on, no matter where you are, you should always make a pick list. I should have said that. No matter where you are in the rank, you should always make a pick list. If there are some teams in the, I think it's is it top 8, Mr. Gabe, that gets picked?
Top 4 in FTC.
Top 4 in FTC?
Uh-huh.
In FTC, you could be ranked 5 and one team from the top 4 could pick each other. So you want to have that pick list, just in case you're actually in a pick.
Just so what you're saying, don't assume that if you're number 5, you're not going to be needing a pick list.
Right.
Okay, good point. And because you may be picking, you're right.
Sorry, Mr. Gabe.
No, it's good. Go ahead.
No matter which rank you're in, you should just make a pick. You may or may not need it. And if you are actually picked, you could also use your pick list to help your partner as well if you need a third robot.
All right, so I'm going to do a time check. It's 1:57 right now. So I see you've attached the game manuals on here. Again, a reminder to the audience that we will every PowerPoint and every link that we've shared today, we will make available in an email that goes out after the event, probably tomorrow. But Coede, thank you for going today, for taking this on today. I just want to give everybody an opportunity to jump in and ask any questions you may have regarding scouting that we could address for you as we round this out.
Somebody said that I'm doing great.
Hey. Is that your mom or something?
No.
I'm just kidding. That was mean.
Any questions that I may have not explained enough, because I'm not the best. I know how to do it. I'm just not good at explaining it.
You did fantastic, man. I was kidding. All right. Well, just in the essence of time is 1:58. Coede, I'm going to go in and
somebody asked to see the manual links.
Okay, thank you.
I can also put these in the chat as well, I think.
Yeah, pop them in there because the chat will remain persistent after you run.
Okay. Put these in the chat real quick.
Yep. Good question. And just to set expectations, the next event that'll be happening on this channel will be the coaches meeting. Right, and for you to know, there's the other sessions that are happening. There is a virtual engineering notebook on channel 3, and then on channel 2 is the strategy discussion that'll be facilitated by Dylan Watson and Riley Lippenholtz.
All right, so in the chat, there are 2 different versions of each game manual. There's one version for traditional events, so like in-person events, and then there's also a version for remote events.
Excellent. Thank you, Coede. Again, thanks again, and appreciate your time today, Coede.
I also have on this last slide. Oh no, move the chat. What scouting could be like. I hope it's not like this. This was a nightmare.
Yeah, that 2020 may not look like that. I'll tell you that.
I doubt it. This was a nightmare. This was 2018.
That was like the 2018. Yeah.
State, there was not enough seats because there was another competition happening at the same time.
Yeah.
And so they tried to condense everybody into one section, and it did not work well. So if you have any other questions, here's my email right here, ctbutler02@gmail. And you can also DM our team's Instagram at BroncBotz on Instagram if you have any other questions.
Awesome, Coede. Thanks a lot, sir.
Hope you have a good time scouting.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, it is now 2:01, and thank you, Cody, again. We will be starting the next workshop at 2:10, right? So to allow people to kind of join in. You got a little response from Aiden Guzman there. He says, "Thank you, Cody." Appreciate that, Aiden.
Thank you guys.